If you're going to be doing fancy stuff in Google Slides, or if you're just using Google Slides at all, it is definitely worth knowing some of the like quick little key commands or things that are just going to make your life quite a bit easier. These are also things that like I wouldn't sit down and explicitly teach these to kids, but if they're really struggling, especially as they're on their Chromebooks and they're using like the mouse pad and like some of these things can be a little bit tricky, teaching some of these things that can make their lives quite a bit easier can go a really long way. So I have a list over here of some things that I just grabbed. I think of like that I use all the time, and it is worth just going through them. So some of these things are going to be very, very simple. Some of these things you may or may not know, and a lot of these things can actually be transferred to the other tools in the Google Suite, Docs, Sheets, those types of things. So let me start off with some very basic ones. So Control C as in cat, V as in vroom vroom, D as in dog, Z as in zebra, and Y as in yak. C V D Z Y. That is copy, paste, duplicate, undo, and redo. So here's what I mean by that. If I take this slide, this very first one here, and I hold down the control button and I hit C, doesn't look like anything's happened, but I've actually copied it. Now, if I click somewhere else, and notice if that's something I wasn't planning on telling you because I forgot about it. Notice if I click on this slide over here on the left, then I've selected this slide. If I select the next one, notice a little blue border here. But if I am very precise and I click in the middle, then I'm just focusing on the very middle there. So if I hit Control V, then it's going to paste, right? So I copy, paste. A faster way to do that is if I just select a slide and I hit Control D as in duplicate. Sorry, that was my phone. D as in duplicate. That will copy and paste at the exact same time. That doesn't work with text, so I can't hit Control D. That's actually going to automatically bookmark that. I want to remove that. But that does work like if I select a text box here. So notice that I don't have a cursor in here. If I click inside, you'll see that little cursor. But if I am very careful and I click on the actual box, I can hit Control D and it's going to duplicate. Then I can hold D, 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 and it's going to just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste very, very quickly. But I didn't want to do all that, and I really don't want to mess up my slides like that. So now I can hit Control Z, and I can just hit that over and over and over and over, and it's going to undo what I just did. I also don't want that here, so I can hit undo. It's going to start going back in time. But oops, I accidentally undid something that I actually want. Control Y. So again, that's Control C for copy, Control V for paste, Control D for duplicate, which is copy and paste at the same time, Control Z for undo, Control Y for redo. All of those things can actually be found up here. So if I hover over this, like undo and redo, like it'll do those things there as well. So like a lot of those things can be found in different places. If I want to rearrange slides, like I have this number 1, but now I want to make it number 5, I simply click and hold and drag, and notice that little blue line jumping in between those different slides. Then I can just let it go wherever I want. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Control Z and it can go right back, right? So that's click and drag to reorder your slides. Now, let's say I want to move a bunch of slides and I want like these first 4 to actually be down here, as opposed to having to go here and here and here like that. That'll take a lot of time. What I can do is I can click on the first slide, hold down the Shift key, click on like the 5th slide. Now notice those are all highlighted and my hands are off. All I did was Shift, click, click. Now I'm letting go, not a big deal. All I need to do now is click and drag. Notice they're all kind of grouped up and I can drop these wherever I want. Now all of those slides have been moved there. Obviously I don't actually want to do that, so I'm going to rearrange those. I'm just looking at my notes to make sure we're covering everything. So hold Shift click and then click is going to grab everything in a series, but Control click will actually allow me to grab multiple individual slides. So notice I grabbed all of those ones that went every other slide, and I can now do the thing where I hold and I can drag, I can drop those wherever I want, and that'll put them all together when I hold them. One of my favorite features here is this little zoom option. So if I click on this, notice now that I have this, it looks like a magnifying glass. It's got a little plus sign in the middle. This is really nice, especially if you're working on a laptop. Like I'm at home, I've got my computer. It's got a really nice big screen. I can see everything perfectly fine. But let's say it's super small and I'm having a hard time looking at the specific spot in the slide. I can left click, then it's going to zoom into that portion of the slide. But notice I am still on that little magnifying glass. So if I try to click on something, it's just going to keep zooming in on me. What I need to do is I need to go back up here and I need to select this again. So now I can work within my slide. But that is way, way, way too zoomed in. Notice I'm at 1500% zoom in. So if I click on this again and I right click, it's going to zoom me back out here. But you'll notice that like I'm all screwy and like I don't have, it's not that fit, right? It's like this is a little bit too small. If I zoom in, it's just not going to be perfect here. It's at 98%. If I click off of my zoom option, I come over here to this little drop down menu. I have the fit option and it's going to fit this to my screen. Super nice. So one of my favorite things to do with this, way that I use this, is I like to zoom out, turn this off, go find a picture. Maybe take this picture. I can click and drag this and drop this onto my slide. Zoom. Oh, that was a bad example because it's going to fit perfectly. But maybe it's like really big and I want to crop it down. If I double click on this to crop, notice it's going to automatically give me the dimensions. You see those little blue lines there? It's going to automatically give me the dimensions of my slide so I can fit that nice and perfect in there. Or if that's getting a little too confusing, I can just go super small and I'll see this little shadow here. I can just drag this right to the corner. And now I'm cropped in super nice. It looks super good. You can also like hide things off over here onto the side like this. And so now if I hit play, it's not going to be here. And if I go to fit, you can't see it, but I can scroll over and I know it's over there on the side, right? So you can kind of like hide things off the screen on your sides. I should start doing that. I haven't done it here. I'm not, this is only the second video I'm making. Maybe I will hide things in the slide and see if anybody's paying attention. All right, I'll zoom in and out. Copy formatting um, is a nice little trick. So let's say I have all of this and it's a certain font and I want everything else to be that exact same font. What I can do is I can click in that formatting, come up to this little paintbrush, and I just highlight everything else that I want to look the same as that. And it's going to change all of that. Over here on the right hand side, as I'm looking at my different slides here, if I right click on a slide, I get all of these different options. Notice copy, paste, right? Paste without formatting, all these different pieces here. You can hide a slide so that way when you're in presentation mode, it doesn't actually show up. Notice I just skipped right past this hidden slide. If I right click, I can unskip it. But what I use this for the most is applying a different layout. So these are all of the different slides that are within this theme. If I just click on this, it's going to take that, it's going to change that slide to whatever that different layout is. If I have text, this is one that is ubiquitous across all of the different Google platforms. If I hold down Control and Shift and I hit the period button, it's going to incrementally grow my text. If I hit the comma button and still holding Control Shift, it's going to incrementally shrink my text. Is that where I had it? This was kind of our beginning activity for this, almost done here. This is kind of our beginning activity. I had you take a bunch of shapes and draw things with them. So I said like draw a picture, and notice if I come up here to my shapes, and I can make these, kind of look however I want. But what happens if I want like a perfect square, right? That can be really hard to do. If you hold down Shift and you drag, that will draw your square proportionally. Then you can let go, and then you can still change your dimensions and turn that into a rectangle. But that's how you can draw a perfect shape. And then let's say I have like this, and I've made myself a little house, but I want to move both of these things over here. If I hold Shift, I can grab both of these objects and move them as one. So Shift, click on each of those things to select. I can also right click and group them together. So now I don't have to click on anything. I can just click and drag. Those are just one shape now. And then if I hold Shift to resize them, they're actually going to change proportionally with each other. And then if I let go of Shift to resize them, they're going to act as one object. Then finally, let's say you've done a whole bunch of stuff, you've really screwed this up, or you've really done something, you want to revert back to something that you had earlier in your slideshow. One of my favorite tools, it's a little bit hidden these days, but if you come up to File and Version History and then See Version History, you can look all the way back to the creation of these slides. So you can see that I started this today. If I come all the way back here, you can see what these slides looked like way, way, way back. And you'll notice this choice board was a template that I took from a colleague of mine who did a choice board about AI. And so this is actually Molly's choice board about a different topic, but I took it and I reformatted it. But I could go back and I could restore this back to its former glory. All right, that was a lot to soak in. What I would like you to do right now is I'd like you to go back and find some of those pieces in the video if you didn't stop and pause and play around with some of these features that